Okay, so I just wanted to talk for a minute or two about spark plug replacement. On my 2013 Chevy Avalanche Black Diamond, I had a problem. I went on a fairly long trip over Thanksgiving to visit family, and at the end of that 600-mile journey, the first time that I came to a full stop at a traffic light, the engine was running rough. Went to one of the local auto parts places. I think it was an AutoZone. They read the codes and said it was a misfire on number 7, which is the far cylinder on the driver's side, or the cylinder closest to the firewall on the driver's side. So I bought a set of plugs, but the car settled down a little bit, so I figured, okay, I'll wait till I get home. And so I drove home. The car was fine. Got it home. There were definitely a few hiccups, so I pulled that spark plug and found that it was indeed damaged. So I decided to replace all of the spark plugs. Let me turn the motor off to cut down on the noise. Okay, now that the motor's off. So, if you read message boards online, you'll see some conversations about these coil wires being difficult to get off, and indeed they are. And I found for most of them, if I was able to successfully twist the wire down by the spark plug and then pull, it would usually come off with a good tug. But some of them, like that cylinder in the back and also the number 1 cylinder up in the front, they fought me quite a bit and would not come off. And what I found, and you'll see suggestions for this online, I took a small screwdriver, or a medium-sized screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and I stuck it as far down into the plug hole as I could, and I very gently kind of broke the seal, if you will, with kind of a prying motion, and that did successfully free up the plug wire. But they are stuck on there pretty good, and it's, I guess, just the heating and cooling, what have you, adheres the plug wires to their seats quite firmly. So everything they say about it being a pain in the butt to get those wires off is true. And if you have the Chevy tool for removing the spark plug wire puller, if you will, that certainly will benefit you. I did not have that, and I wasn't going to buy it, so I improvised, and I improvised successfully. I would also say that the passenger side over here is the more difficult of the two sides to work with. In terms of removing the spark plugs, because of all of the other stuff in here that's an interference that interferes with the access. I would also say that the rearward passenger side, which I think is the number 8 cylinder, it's a blind hole, so you're working by feel more than by sight. So I found that to be particularly challenging with just DIY tools and whatnot. And of course, because this is a truck, you basically are lying on top of the engine trying to reach down in there. So certainly the engine has to be cool or cold when you're working on this. You don't want to burn yourself. And I would also definitely use anti-seize. There's plug anti-seize that I got with these plugs from AutoZone. I use that. And I also use some dielectric grease on the wire end of the spark plugs. So I didn't have any issues getting the spark plugs out, and I didn't have any issues really getting the spark plugs back in, other than that number 8, I think it's number 8, all the way back on the firewall on the passenger side. That one was pretty damn difficult to work with. So that's basically it. The getting those wires off is the fiddliest part of this. So if you have the right tool, I'm sure it will benefit you. If not, you can try gently a screwdriver or just tugging on those wires and taking the risk, as I did, of ruining them. Let me just show you the one spark plug that started all this. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the spark plug. Hopefully the camera will focus. That triggered this event. Let me get out into the sun. So as you can see, the center insulator is damaged. Based on this, I decided to replace all of the spark plugs. And truthfully, I had already replaced number 1 cylinder spark plug a few months ago. At almost exactly 75,000 miles, the coil pack went, and I replaced the plug first. That didn't solve the misfire, so then I replaced the coil pack, and then the car ran smoothly. Yeah, I know that's the firing the parts cannon solution, but relative to the cost of the parts, I'm okay with that. And it did work. So anyway, when I think it's number 7, which is the firewall side, driver side cylinder, which is what this spark plug came out of. When that one went, I just decided, screw it, I'm going to replace them all. And so it took me about 2 or 3 hours to replace them all, and most of it was, messing around with the getting the wires off. So I would recommend that you use the anti-seize. I would also strongly recommend that you verify the gap, which is supposed to be 0.040. Even though these spark plugs that you get are supposed to be pre-gapped, don't trust them. Verify the gap with a feeler gauge to make sure that they're gapped properly before you put them in the car. And as I said before, I used a dielectric grease on this end of the spark plug in the hopes that it would just make it a little bit easier to get off on the next go. So here are all the spark plugs. Again, remember, you're seeing 7 here because I already replaced one, and so I left it in. And there's the anti-seize that came with the plugs, and there's my little tube of dielectric grease. So I hope this was at least slightly informative for you, and the message is mostly be prepared to spend some time to get these spark plugs out. If you've got the spark plug remover tool for Chevys, that's going to help you. If not, try a screwdriver or try a twisting motion and then a tug before getting the wires off. And good luck. Thanks. Bye.